Grief and loss. How do we help young children deal with grief and loss? When I was reading on this, I came to know that nature is the best way to help children deal with grief and loss. There will be children who at a very young age may lose one of their grandparents. There may also be children who at a very young age may lose one of their parents or somebody very close to them. How do we help our children deal with this grief and loss? How do we make them understand what is loss, what is death? And then how do we help them understand that it's okay to grieve and how to deal with that grief? Simply put, if you look at nature, nature has a cycle. Something is born and then something fades away or dies. So when children come to know about the cycle of nature, they start accepting loss. They know that anything that grows will eventually die or will fade away. So the more nature connections you can give your children, the better it would be to help them deal with life situations. Number 2, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to sob. That should be our mantra when our children are dealing with grief. And grief can be as simple as a child losing a toy or a child losing a pet. Both are equally important for the child. So don't make it that, that was an inanimate object. Why are you crying so much for it? Children cannot differentiate between that. For them, their emotions are paramount, which means I cared for something. Now I can't find that something. I'm going to feel a sense of loss, and that sense of loss is followed by grief. And how do you vent out that grief? Crying. For some children, it can even be tantrums, frustrations. Help them deal with it. Help them talk about their loss. Sometimes art therapy helps them. Help them draw about that loss. And don't tell them to get over it. Grief is a process. Each one takes a different time to deal with it. When I lost my parents, it took me years to adjust to that grief. Till I read about a Buddhist way that go to an open ground and release a balloon thinking of your parents. And when you actually see that balloon going away, you will realize and accept that loss for yourself. So simple things like this work for different people. How are you dealing with your grief is how your children will deal with their grief. Let's be strong enough, aware enough to help our children deal with loss, grief, and death.